Hello, everyone. The political landscape in Beijing today is a turbulent one, filled with intrigue and undercurrents. Xi Jinping's troubles may be far greater than most people realize. Despite the grand display of power at the Beijing military parade on September 3rd, which reportedly cost over R1 billion to stage, the event was designed to project an image of unassailable strength. Yet, in stark contrast to the festive atmosphere, Xi's somber expression betrayed the pressures he's facing. A leader fond of quoting ancient poetry to burnish his image, Xi might well be reflecting privately on the verse. The sunset is infinitely beautiful, but it heralds dusk. Why is this? Based on various sources, there's growing uncertainty about whether Xi can weather the upcoming fourth plenary session this year. At the very latest, by next autumn's Congress, he may be forced to step down. For now, he continues to play the leading role on the public stage, but it's likely a scripted performance agreed upon at the secretive Beidea meetings, aimed at maintaining stability both domestically and internationally. Let's rewind to 3 years ago at the 20th National Congress. She secured an unprecedented third term, standing alongside his hand-picked loyalists in the Politburo Standing Committee, exuding unmatched authority. Little did he know that this moment marked the peak of his power, followed by a rapid and almost unbelievable decline. The 20th Congress in October 2022 was a pivotal turning point for Chinese politics, a moment when she orchestrated a ruthless power struggle, igniting a series of events that continue to reverberate today. Let's revisit the dramatic scene at the closing ceremony of the 20th Congress, broadcast live to the world. Seated next to Xi was former President Hu Jintao, who reached for a red folder on the table in front of him. Li Jianshu, then chairman of the National People's Congress, swiftly took the folder away, pressing it down to prevent Hu from reading it. He whispered, "Don't look, it's already decided," a phrase later deciphered by lip-reading experts as reported by Japan's Sankei Shimbun. Wang Huning, seated nearby, gestured for Hu not to open it. She then signaled security personnel to escort Hu out. Hu resisted, gripping his chair and reaching for Xi's folder, which she firmly held down. A security agent grabbed Hu's arm, and despite his reluctance, Hu was forcibly removed from the venue by the agent and another official. As he passed by Li Keqiang, Hu patted his shoulder in a poignant gesture. The atmosphere in the hall was tense, with delegates sitting in stunned silence, too afraid to even glance sideways. To anyone watching, it was clear Hu wasn't suffering a medical emergency. His attempt to view the document was the sole reason for his removal. If it had been a health crisis, medical staff would have intervened, not security dragging him out in a humiliating public spectacle. This dramatic moment shocked the world, especially given Hu's role as Xi's benefactor. Back at the 18th Congress in 2012, Hu, unlike his predecessor Jiang Zemin, voluntarily relinquished all power, party, government, and military, handing Xi the keys to absolute control. Party media praised Hu's noble character for this selfless act, which paved the way for Xi's anti-corruption campaign and consolidation of power. Yet, a decade later, Xi publicly humiliated his mentor. This act of betrayal sent chills through the ranks of party elders and the Red second generation, signaling that Xi was determined to rule as an emperor, willing to sacrifice anyone to maintain power. What was in that mysterious folder Hu was so desperate to see? Given the context, it likely contained the personnel list for the new leadership. Many believe Hu wanted to confirm whether Hu Jintao, his designated successor from the Communist Youth League faction, had been removed from the Politburo. The prevailing theory at the time was that the Politburo had been reduced from 25 to an unprecedented even number of 24, with Hu Jintao as the sole member excluded. However, it's possible the folder contained the full list of the 200-plus Central Committee members, as that's typically what's voted on during the closing session. Per party norms, such lists are finalized in advance at smaller meetings, like the 7th plenary session of the 19th Congress, where every appointment is meticulously planned. Reports later surfaced that a compromise had been reached before the Congress. She would remain General Secretary, Li Keqiang would become chairman of the National People's Congress, Wang Yang would take over as premier, and Hu Jintao and Ding Xiuxiang would join the standing committee as part of the post-60s generation leadership pipeline, alongside Zhao Leji and Wang Huning. This 4+3 arrangement ensured Xi's dominance while balancing the interests of the Communist Youth League faction and others. Media outlets, including Hong Kong's South China Morning Post, had even reported versions of this lineup, reflecting the party's usual practice of controlled leaks. However, Xi upended this agreement at the last minute. While the Congress's opening and closing days were public, the interim days featured closed-door meetings where the Central Committee list was finalized. It's believed that during these sessions, through a manipulated differential election process, Xi removed Li Keqiang, Wang Yang, and Hu Jintao from key positions. Aware of their exclusion, Li and Wang reportedly withdrew voluntarily to avoid further humiliation. A subsequent Xinhua article titled "How the New CPC Leadership Was Formed" confirmed that some leaders nobly stepped aside, implicitly referring to Li and Wang. On the closing day, Hu likely heard rumors that Li and Wang had been removed and insisted on checking the list himself. As the leader of the Communist Youth League faction, facing its near-total elimination, Hu's attempt to challenge the outcome was a desperate move. Xi, realizing the situation was spiraling, resorted to the shocking act of having Hu forcibly removed. This incident marked a turning point, foreshadowing a dramatic shift in the power structure. The 20th Congress results confirmed this upheaval. The Communist Youth League faction was effectively wiped out. Li Keqiang and Wang Yang, neither of whom had reached retirement age, were sidelined entirely. Hu Jintao, a sitting Politburo member and vice premier expected to rise further, was abruptly demoted to a mere Central Committee member and relegated to the political wilderness of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference. Historically, the Politburo always maintained an odd number of members, typically 25, to avoid tie votes, but this time it was reduced to an unprecedented 24, clearly targeting Hu Jintao. Meanwhile, Xi's loyalists dominated the new standing committee, with Kai Chi, a figure previously not even on the Politburo, catapulted to the fifth-ranking position, an extraordinarily rare leap in party history. The 20th Congress was, in essence, a power grab by Xi, akin to a bloodless coup. It shattered the delicate balance among factions, as described by Wan Runnan, founder of the Stone Group, who called it a winner-takes-all move reminiscent of Red Guard politics, leaving no room for rivals. To mitigate the fallout from Hu's removal, state media and overseas proxies claimed Hu left due to health issues or anger over his son Hu Haifeng's failure to enter the Politburo. These explanations strain credulity. Hu Haifeng was merely a prefecture-level city party secretary, far from Politburo material. Such narratives seem more like fabricated distractions. Rumors also circulated about a letter from Chen Min'er to Wen Jiabao, alleging she planned a purge of 15 key figures, including Hu Jintao and Wang Yang, at the 20th Congress. Chen reportedly questioned the scale of the purge, leading Xi to replace him with a more loyal Kai Chi. While unverified, this story highlights a broader truth. Even Xi's closest allies may not remain loyal if his actions alienate the party. The public humiliation of Hu Jintao united disparate factions, elders, the Communist Youth League, and the Red Second Generation, in a shared sense of outrage, forming an anti-Xi coalition. Xi's aggressive moves, including his anti-corruption purges targeting elders and princelings, have backfired, turning allies into enemies. At the 18th Congress, Xi's rise was bolstered by Hu Jintao and figures like Hu Depeng, Hu Yaobang's son, who publicly supported Xi, hoping he would pursue political reforms. In a private meeting, Hu Depeng reportedly urged Xi to lead China toward greater openness, only for Xi to dismiss the idea, saying, "Brother, you overestimate me. I'm just here to hold the fort." This marked the beginning of Xi's estrangement from Hu Depeng and the Red Second Generation. Today, an anti-Xi coalition reportedly includes Hu Jintao, Wen Jiabao, Li Ruihuan, Zhu Rongji, Wang Qishan, and military figure Zhang Youxia. Zhang Youxia's role is particularly significant. At the 20th Congress, she relied on Jiang's military control to secure his third term, with troops reportedly stationed in Beijing to quell any dissent. In 2018, Jiang's military backing also enabled Xi to amend the constitution, lifting term limits. As a reward, she retained the 71-year-old Zhang as vice chairman of the Central Military Commission, despite his age. However, she quickly betrayed Zhang by promoting He Weidong, a loyalist from the 31st Army Group, to the same rank. He Weidong, previously not even a Central Committee member, was elevated to Politburo member and Military Commission vice chairman, an unprecedented leap. This move was clearly designed to counterbalance and eventually replace Zhang, signaling Xi's distrust. He Weidong, backed by Xi, has acted with increasing boldness, often overshadowing Zhang in public and media reports. Alongside Miao Hua, head of the Military Commission's Political Work Department, he has supported Xi's purges in the rocket force, targeting Zhang's allies, including former Defense Minister Li Shangfu. Zhang, sensing his precarious position, has kept a low profile, but the appointment of Xi's wife, Peng Liyuan, as head of the Military Commission's Personnel Evaluation Committee, a role granting her veto power over military promotions, has further humiliated military elites. For battle-hardened generals like Zhang, a former singer wielding such authority is an affront. Zhang, a combat veteran from the Sino-Vietnamese War, commands significant influence. His father, Zhang Zongxuan, a trusted Mao-era general, gave Zhang deep military roots. His family's connections, including his sister's marriage to the son of another general, amplify his clout among the military and Red Second Generation. In contrast, Xi's military ties are thin, relying on his wife and sister-in-law, both artistic generals. Zhang's strength makes him a threat she cannot easily eliminate, as seen in Xi's cautious handling of Li Shangfu's downfall. Xi's consolidation of power at the 20th Congress, achieved through a nonviolent coup, secured his lifelong rule, but sowed the seeds of his isolation. At the third plenary session, a minor stroke reportedly allowed elders and Zhang Youxia to orchestrate a swift power shift. As the Chinese saying goes, man's plans are no match for heaven's will. Xi's obsession with control has left him surrounded by enemies, proving the wisdom of this ancient adage. Thank you for your attention. We'll continue this discussion next time. Goodbye.